Welcome to episode 3 of the Young Thinkers podcast. If you haven't already, then check out episode 1, which was with Koye Adeola, talking about his experience of being diagnosed with diabetes and essentially reversing it. And episode 2 with Admiral Nurse Asma Pando, who gave us a great overview into caring for people with dementia. And moving on to episode 3 now, we're doing our first face-to-face episode. And I'm proud to be here with our special guest, Amin Khan. Welcome.
Thank you.
We've got Amin Khan, who's owner of Truth Boxing Club in Gloucester. He's an entrepreneur. He's a mentor for young people and a boxing coach for children and adults at a range of levels from local, regional and national levels. So it's great to have you here, Amin.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So obviously we know each other for a long time, but just to get people a little bit acquainted with you, we'll talk a little bit about what got you into boxing, and then we're going to come on to what you do now and how that helps with the health of children and adults in Gloucester. So what did get you into boxing initially?
Initially, it was just the love of the sport, to be fair. My dad used to watch a lot of boxing. My brother did as well. And just from it being on in the background, I mean, being on TV, Nazim Hamid era, you had Mike Tyson's and then Chris Eubanks, Nigel Benz, all domestically, and it was a golden era. Yeah. And just to be growing up in that era of the sport, sort of set the foundations. For what was to come. And
then you actually went into boxing yourself, didn't you?
Yeah,
so obviously you were watching it, you were interested.
Yeah.
And then what age do you think roughly you got into it?
Well, I was always into it, but then I think I started doing competitive, like combat sports. I started off in Muay Thai when I was about 10 years old, 11 years old.
Yeah.
And then I stopped for a bit, as you do. I don't think there was that much drive coming from, like, not saying the parents weren't supportive, but I just think from, the Asian background, it was more education focused and stuff like that. So I kind of stopped for a bit, and then mainly kicked in when I was about 17.
Right.
Started competing then.
Yeah, and then you were in gyms in Gloucester, I think, and you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was going around gyms in Gloucester, and then using my connections that I started gathering in the sport.
Yeah.
Just through like social media and YouTube, I think that was the biggest one.
Yeah.
Back in the day, so I started speaking to boxing coaches on YouTube, and then started visiting coaches in London and trying to get loads of experience, and much experience as I could. And if now being a coach, I think that's just stood me in in good respect there, to be fair.
So was that when you were visiting all these other gyms and things? Did you know you wanted to be a coach at that time, or was it mainly just for yourself to try and?
No, it was it was just for myself. Yeah. I never had that coaching mindset at that time.
Yeah.
I think when you're a coach, it stops being about you and about being for the other people that are around you.
Yeah.
So at that particular moment in time, it was just for myself, just trying to improve myself, be the best I could be. But I think I always had that my sort of mindset was more like tactical. I thought, I didn't, even though I didn't realize it then. I think when I used to watch boxing, I used to analyze it.
Yeah, right.
Rather than just sort of like, jump up and down when there was a knockdown or a good shot land.
Yeah.
It was more the sort of the technical aspect of it that I enjoyed the most.
So you always had that analytical.
Yeah, so that was always there. That was always the foundation, and it still is.
Yeah. And when did you know then that you wanted to go into coaching?
I didn't, to be honest. Like I said, I started off, once I stopped boxing competitively, I started working, and it was all about earning money. And then I went back to the amateur club that I sort of started off at, and started helping the young kids. I'd go in there to train again, just to train myself, but then I'd be helping the kids. I'd then find myself going in a little bit earlier, doing the junior class, holding the pads for some of the kids there, and then it just grew from there. And then I started doing a few one-to-ones, personal training on the side, just on weekends. And one of the guys one of my clients, he had a white collar contest coming up. And what had happened then, he said, the reason for him to do the white collar contest was for him to start his own white collar business.
Right.
Just that makes sense, or promotional. Yeah.
For the viewers some of which might not know what white collar means, or some of these.
So boxing is split up into two. You've got amateur and pros. Both of them are licensed through a governing body. So your amateur boxing, which I'm now involved in today, is governed by England Boxing, which in turn is governed by Sport England. And then you've got your professional boxing, which is licensed and regulated by the British Boxing Board of Control. Both which I'm dealing with now. Right. So my introduction into the coaching was again through the amateur boxing club, but I started working with, started helping this individual who was going to do a white collar contest. Right. So that was my first experience of cornering somebody and being involved sort of ringside into it. And then it just grew. I ended up having my own gym. I thought to myself, I could probably do this myself, do it a better way. Because I was finding that, you know, when you're part of a spit and sawdust amateur boxing club, you'll get kids coming in who maybe only sort of 5 or 10% of them will be competitive boxers. So what's happening to the other 90%? You know, they won't stay for that long. They'll stay for a couple of months and then they'll drift off, you know, and there's no sort of communication. Continuity. Yeah, that's it. There's no communication with the parents or the child to see what they're up to. So I think what I just did was trying to have it diverse, open for everybody. And for those, even like today, now having my own club, the kids who I know are not going to box, at least I get them involved doing something else. I get them involved in the coaching perhaps, or, you know, the social media side of it, designing posters and logos and what have you,
And from what you're saying, it was back when you were boxing yourself, but you were giving back a little bit because you were training the younger kids and there was that feeling of giving back to the community. Do you think that's what motivated you in some ways, that you're getting a sense of you're giving something back, you're training these young people?
No, 100%. It was always good to, like, you know, motivate a young person. I mean, you didn't really know what their story was all the time, but initially it was just helping out. I didn't really look at it into too much of detail of I'm helping the community, I'm giving back. I'll be honest, it wasn't about that. It was about just, you know, being occupied, doing something, being involved with something that I love. But obviously when I opened my own gym, the tide turned, everything just shifted. It became about community. It became about, you know, you're gifted. You know, the gym's a gift to me. So I've been gifted with something that I can use to make a change. You know, like, look how much stuff that's going on in our communities now. Like, you know, you've got, for example, gang violence and certain complex social issues that young people are dealing with. And I just felt that it was up to me to sort of bridge the gap. You know, whether it was using boxing as a rehabilitative measure or preventative, you know, I had that gift in my hand to be able to do that, and the power to do that.
And I've got a clip of me and you in the boxing gym as well. We did a little bit.
I said we did a while back. What
do you think? How does the boxing gym help that mental health or physical health? So let's start with mental health. You mentioned
mental health. Listen, it's a massive stress relief. You know, you get different types of young people and adults coming in. You know, different abilities, different shapes and sizes, different backgrounds, different stories. And what happens is boxing just is that release of energy. Do you know what I mean? Release of positive hormones, and you know yourself, you know all them biological words.
I remember from med school somewhere.
So you know yourself that what benefits exercise has on somebody's mental health. And boxing is, again, it's that stress relief, but also at the Truth Boxing Club, it's that family. You know, that's what we deliver. That safe haven for young people. You know, because look, a lot of the kids that, listen, I don't want to say a lot of the kids, but a majority of the kids that come in, you don't really know what their background is until you start getting to know them. But the only way you're going to get to know them is if you give them that safe haven and that family unit.
That community within a community.
Within a community, exactly. So that's when they start opening up. That's when you start hearing some of their struggles that they're going through, whether it's in school or stuff they've had ongoing growing up. you know, family issues, etc. And then you can start sort of appreciating what they're doing. You know, like walking into a boxing club, which can be daunting that to begin with, and then they're staying here, they're persevering with it.
Yeah. And
then you start seeing changes in, you know, even the way they dress. You know, they've got their appearance. You know, they want to take more care of themselves. You know, looking after themselves hygienically, for example. Do you know what I mean? Just because they're part of that environment and that community.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No,
yeah,
it definitely
it just
does.
gives them that little boost.
Yeah, definitely. And so that's coming on to the social aspects of health as well. So you've mentioned the mental boost you get from exercise, all the hormones that are released, and improving your mood and your energy. But definitely the social aspects you've covered there as well, really giving you that community, that safe space, people they can talk to. Right.
And, you know, I've got, you know, for example, my son, he started in the foundation class, you know, he's 5 to 9s.
Yeah.
He started spending time with one of my boxers called Jaden Price, who's 12 years old, and he's national champion. And he started looking up to him.
Yeah.
So he's, you know, what I've done with Jaden from the age of 6 up until now has not just given a benefit to obviously Jaden and the club, but also to develop my own son.
Yeah.
So it's massive really think of that. So it's a chain of events. Yeah. You know, it's a chain of growth. And then
now moving on to physical health, then obviously we know a little bit, but what physical benefits does boxing give you, or exercise generally?
Yeah, well, I mean, the physical benefits, obviously training the body. Do you know what I mean? It's putting yourself through that regular exercise. It's the study that we give the young people as well. It's not just all boxing related.
Right.
We tell them how to use other fitness adaptations to benefit their boxing, but we tell them how many, you know, what to run, what sprints to do, you know, what days to have off, which is important. Recovery is important. You know, physical benefits of exercise is just profound. You've got your weight loss. You know, we've got kids. So I'll tell you a good story about one of my boxers who competed yesterday.
Right.
Another one who I've had in gym since he was 6. He was born with like a curvature of the spine. Is it called scoliosis?
Scoliosis.
Yeah. Right. So he was told he could probably never walk, let alone do sports, let alone do one of the hardest sports in the world, boxing.
Right.
But he's persevered. He's been in the gym where he's had hip pain, leg pain, you know, all sorts of pains. You know what I mean? He's just been through it from a young age. You know, operations after operations. I think 12 ops. I think he's had or something. And you know, he competed yesterday. You know, at age of 13, knocking on 14, he's competed finally. And you know, when you talk about physical benefits, he's ripped at the script. He's ripped at what the doctors. He's ripped at what the doctors have said to him. Look, you know, you might not be able to do sports, you might not be able to walk, and look what he's achieved. You know, so that's the beauty of exercise. That's the beauty of, you know, the physical benefits. You asked what the physical benefits are. That's there, plain and simple. You know, it can change your life.
Yeah, definitely, and especially important now that we're seeing rising rates of childhood obesity as well.
Yeah.
And inactivity, really. I think, you know, there's some statistics from NHS Digital that by the time children get into year 6 of primary school, around a quarter of children are obese, which is huge numbers, really.
Yeah,
and it has been growing over the years.
Yeah.
So definitely there needs to be something done, and you know, physical activity and nutrition as well. So going back to the statistics again, the other interesting thing is that the children in deprived areas are twice as likely to be obese compared to people in less deprived areas. So there's a link there as well with if you're in a more deprived area, you're more eating unhealthily, or your activities might be unhealthy. So what did you make of the skills in that clip? That's pretty good.
Listen, you need a bit of work, to be fair. You know,
but you were training me, so you know.
Listen, that was one session. That was your introduction.
Yeah.
Next time you're sparring.
Not bad. All right. Okay, that was good. No, but even during that little clip, I mean, you do get quite tired actually from from just a bit of pad work.
Yeah.
So the physical benefits that we've mentioned of boxing, really, you can get a good workout, definitely. And for the children that are coming here, how often do they tend to come? Is it like a regular weekly thing, or is it?
So we got classes five days a week. So Monday through to Friday. Monday through to Friday. They can attend as many sessions as they want. We try to encourage them to attend all 5. So we understand some kids might be playing football. They've got, commitments with school, for example. So yeah, the more you attend, the better you'll become, and the quicker you'll improve. So that's the sort of, the idea that we try to build into the young people is the more consistent you are, the quicker you'll improve, the better you'll get.
Yeah.
I often use Jaden Price as an example because, he trains in the mornings before school.
Right.
He trains after school. He trains like 7 days a week, to be fair. So, it just proves that if you're consistent with something, you'll get better at it.
Yeah.
Same with Nico, the lad who boxed last night. He's, again, he started being a little bit more consistent with things, a lot more consistent, and he's got him to a stage where he's able to compete and box when there was doubts over him playing any sports, him walking. Yeah.
So tell us about some of these events or competitions that you go to. Where have you been, and what sort of things?
Yeah, we've been all over the place, to be fair. As far as like Manchester, Scotland, Ireland. Abroad, like Jaden's been abroad to Sweden.
All right.
I stayed away from that trip. It's a bit too much flying for me. But but in the future, who knows? We're ready to sort of like pack our bags and go anywhere just to learn and to improve. Yeah. Actually, myself as a coach did something similar. I went to America, I went to Cuba.
Yeah, I remember.
To learn from different coaches.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the whole idea of it was to go to a country where boxing has thrived. So Cuba was definitely one on the list. I wanted to find out, and America as well, but mainly on an amateur scale. So America at one point were winning gold medals in boxing, and they just sort of stopped, declined quite a bit. But Cuba just keep churning out gold medals all the time. So the idea was to go out to America first, have a look at the USA boxing setup, and just try and work out why they're not sort of producing those medalists, gold medalists, and then to go to Cuba and work out why they were producing medalists when there's like malnutrition, there's poverty, but they're still grinding it out. So I'll give you a quick little conclusion as to what I learned, and I just found out America was just way too, boxing was just a drop in the ocean. Right. It's too diluted. Yeah. So they weren't really capturing the talents that's coming through. Yeah. And with Cuba, even though you have got that malnutrition, there's lack of, there's not a £1 billion setup or $1 billion setup. Yeah. It's their tradition. Yeah. It's their, whether it comes from the communist rule or whatever, they've just got that fighting tradition. Yeah. It's built in, and it's built into their culture. And they really use that culture to capture and improve on a sporting level. Yeah. And there's no money involved in it either. They're, a GB boxer and a USA boxer will get paid. They'll get paid to train. They'll get paid to be at a GB camp or USA boxing camp. They'll get rewarded if they win a Olympic medal. Usually with a lucrative professional contract with a big promoter. But the Cubans at that time, if they were to win a gold medal, they would get a house from Fidel Castro. He'd buy him a house. The government would buy him a house, or a car, or a watch. It wouldn't be any. It wouldn't get. He wouldn't get
regular.
Yeah, sort of a massive income or anything like that. Right. If you retired from boxing, you'd get a sporting job. Yeah. Teaching boxing at one of their academies. So yeah, everything was just very patriotic, and you know, I found that culture was just a massive drive for them to improve.
Yeah, so that was more for the love of the sport they were doing it then, rather than the financial reward and incentive like that.
No, definitely. You know, and they weren't allowed to turn pro either. So, obviously, they didn't want it to be about the money.
Right.
You could turn pro, but you'd have to then never be able. You have to defect from Cuba and never be able to return. And a good example is when I was in Cuba, I can't remember his name now, but I met an old guy who won an Olympic medal, Olympic gold, and he had a little picture of it up in his house.
Right.
So this guy, one of his friends actually, seen me on the streets, and he was like, Amin Khan, and I was like, no, I'm not Amin Khan, no. I don't know why he thought it was Amin Khan. Don't even look like each other. You know, I had the beard then as well. But I think he had a few drinks, so you know, he thought I was Amin Khan. And he took me into, I know it sounds a bit dodgy, but he took me into this house, and there was a few old guys, old timers there, sat there, and
in Cuba,
yeah, in the heart of Havana, in the old Havana, and he said to me, he introduced me as Amin Khan, and by that point, listen, I was Amin Khan for that 2 weeks. I was Amin Khan, So yeah, he invited me in. He introduced me to the guy who won Olympic gold, and there was a little picture of him on the podium, real black and white picture. Literally, this room was probably about the size of this boxing ring. The bed in there, little kitchenette, little bathroom, and that was it. And I said, "Where's your medal?" I wanted to see the gold medal, and he's like, "Oh, no, sold it for money." But the house was gifted to him when he won the Olympic gold.
Right.
But it might be gifted a house, but it's all falling apart now. You know what I mean? You're not being able to earn money then to be able to carry on and earn a living and have the upkeep of your house. And then from Cuba, I went to Miami, and in Miami, driving down South Beach in a Rolls Royce was a Cuban world champion called Erislandy Lara.
Right.
And he could have had that life if he stayed in Cuba, potentially years down the line. You know what I mean? But look, he defected and he made obviously millions of dollars. So it just goes to show, like, you know, the different, I'm not sure what to call it, the different paths you take in different environments, and, you know, the culture you're within. Sometimes you have to break a culture to be able to succeed. So yeah.
Now, your gym for the community, obviously, in a way, like you've mentioned, there could be kids getting involved in gangs, or could be involved in other things, and it's kind of taking them off the streets in a way, isn't it? And giving them that safe space. Is that one of the main impacts that you think you've had from this gym?
Massively, yeah. I mean, listen, I've got several case studies, and I need to be careful, but to say it, but listen, I've had individuals, young people involved in knife crime, you know, survived prison by like that much, you know what I mean? And again, it was this little boxing club, you know, up the stairs in the center of town, that saved those lives, you know what I mean? Saved other people's lives as well, do you know what I mean? It's not just stopping them from going to prison, but it's the impact that they can have on other people. Do you know what I mean? It could stop a mother and father grieving, a family grieving, you know, both sides. You know, the one who commits the crime and goes to prison, their mum and dad are going to be grieving for their child. Yeah, it's a ripple effect. Yeah, it's a ripple effect. So, listen, a boxing club has a massive impact on the community, and it doesn't get enough credit. You know, if you ask me, it does not get enough credit. We save the councils and the governments hundreds of thousands in what we do. You know, and sometimes we don't even charge the kids. You know, what am I going to say to a mother who's got 5 kids and they all want a box, but she can't afford it? You know, all right, I'll just pay for one then. You know, what am I going to say? Just they can't box and you can't afford, you can't pay, you got to go. No, because like you said, like what I found on my travels as well, boxing really attracts those who are from those deprived communities. You know, And it's about giving them an opportunity,
Yeah.
giving them that chance.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to do anyway.
And what's the future, do you think, for the Truth Boxing Club? Where do you think the impact, and what's the plans for the future?
Just to keep growing, just to keep doing what we're doing in this community. You know, there's obviously plans of trying to expand it, but I want to keep that coaching culture the same. And there's a risk of losing that coaching culture if I was to open another several establishments. Financially, it might be lucrative, but you know, it means nothing because I want to keep that coaching culture.
Yeah,
that needs to be the same.
Yeah,
throughout. And if I can't be in, you know,
multiple
several places, at the same time.
Because you've got that community now, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Whereas if you start to branch out too much, you can lose that feeling. You can
lose that,
small community who knows each other.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, listen, there's, you know, for myself, there's stuff I want to do once I've completed projects here. And projects, I mean, like the young people that I'm working with. You know, there's things I want to do. Like at the minute, is, you know, Jaden Price is a massive piece of that. I really want to see him get to Team GB, get to the Olympics, and turn professional. Do you know what I mean? That's and then work with him there as he's a professional. There's my son as well. He wants to box. I want to get him to a certain level and see where he gets to. He's obviously a baby at the minute, but you know, get him to a certain level. And there's other kids as well that are coming through. You know, ones who have turned their lives around, and I want to see where they get to. And I want to get that done and out of the way first before then I start looking at maybe different countries, for example, you know, whether it's the Middle East. You know, it looks like sport in the Middle East is thriving right now. That could potentially be a future avenue for me to go and replicate something there. But like I said, it's not always about the financial side of it. It's more taking the community that I got here over there and trying to
develop it over there.
Develop the grassroots, if that makes sense. Really develop the grassroots and make an impact on young people, you know, from the foundation onwards.
Oh, that's great. I think the work you're doing for the community is brilliant. And we've just captured a small part of it really, but it's been really interesting. If our viewers wanted to follow on social media and things, is there anything?
Yeah, it's my chance to plug it.
You can plug all your...
Yeah, so we've got Instagram, we've got Truth Boxing Club on our Instagram, we've got Facebook, Truth Boxing Club. Just check us out. You know, we've got classes Monday to Friday. Yep. And listen, it's open to all levels of ability from the age of 5 onwards. And just a chance to be part of a community. I mean, if you're looking for, you know, to improve not just your health and well-being, but also be part of a well-grounded community. Yeah, I mean, it's a place to be.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Amin. It's been great chatting to you. And so just to summarize, we've been through a lot there, but we've talked about the physical and social and mental health benefits and the community work that Amin is doing, which has been great to see. If you like the video and you're watching on YouTube, hit like, subscribe, and we'll be bringing you some more episodes in the future. So thanks for watching.